Hello and welcome to another video. No silly skit in this one because we're going to be painting up some Baron's War. That's right everybody, in this video we're going to be painting up Sir William Marshal, probably one of the greatest knights of English history, who was prominent through both Baron's Wars. I believe he was definitely the second one, maybe in around for the first, but he was definitely prominent and definitely around Magna Carta. And Footsore Miniatures and Andy Hobday and Paul Hicks do these. Now I would show the rulebook, but for the life of me I have no idea where I've put it. But I do have the Death and Taxes campaign book and the new Crusade book as well, which is fantastic, by the way. But yes, we're going to be painting up William Marshal. So I'm going to flip the camera, drop back down, and we'll get cracking on it. So I have primed the model black and then done a zenithal highlight of Grey Seer primer from Games Workshop. And what I'm doing now with Lead Belcher is base coating all of the parts that are going to be silver metallic. I'm planning on doing a lot of Baron's War content on the channel, so if you really like this and want to see more, smash that subscribe button, like the video, drop a comment and tell me who you would like me to paint, and hit the notification button so you don't miss out on any future videos. So once you've done the metallics, you're going to need to get a base coat down for the green. Now Games Workshop greens are not the best at doing coverage, so what I'm doing here is base coating all of the green section with War Flesh. This will give you a nice green solid base coat for the likes of the Caliban green and the Warpstone glow to work off. Now, as you can see, I'm base coating the yellow side of his heraldry, and this is a 2-part to 1 mix of Games Workshop's Uriel yellow and Scrag brown. This will give you a really nice yellow that will have some really good coverage of the miniature. I actually made a permanent bottle of this because I was planning to do an Imperial Fist Army for Warhammer 40k, and it comes in really handy for whenever I need to base coat yellow. So just keep working around and just cover everywhere that needs to be yellow, and you can tidy up the sort of divide between the green and the yellow as well with this paint. And that was the yellow and the green all base coated. So to get the yellow to look really good, what we're doing here is getting a wash of Games Workshop's Death Gold Brown, and this will give the sort of browny orange tone to the yellow in the shadows. Okay, for the green, what we're doing here now is we've got a 50-50 mix of Caliban green and Warpstone glow, and we're basically just going to be layering over all of the War Flesh for that that a base tone that we're going to be working off on the green tabard. So just work around the model and apply this where you need it. You could apply and glue the shield at this stage. I kept it off because I wanted to make sure I got all of the detail underneath the shields painted. So once that's dry, what I've done there is I've added a little bit more warpstone glow into the previous mix. So it's now basically two parts warpstone glow and 1 part Caliban green, basically. And I'm going back over the green areas and I'm applying this to the highest points, leaving the darker base tone in the recesses. Next, just added a little bit more of warpstone glow. We're almost at a pure warpstone glow, but it's just a little bit darker. And again, what we're doing is we're going over and applying this to all of the highest points, leaving the previous 2 layers into the darker recessed areas. You'll see me occasionally put it on and then I'll sort of come back with the brush and sort of rub at it, and it's kind of like pulling the paint around. What I'm doing there is a technique called feathering. Now with pure warpstone glow, I'm again going back into all of the highest points, making all of the previous stages in the deepest recesses, and really now sort of pushing those highlights with the brighter colours. Be super careful here, but if you do make a mistake, just come back with the previous layer and just feather it in over the edge and just smooth the transitions out. The one thing that I love about Baron's War is painting the knights. You can really go nuts with them because you've got a really nice negative space to play with. So you can put whatever heraldry you want or research historical figures from history and do it that way as well. But to be fair, there's not going to be much written about bog standard unknown knights for historical documents. Only the really major players of the time, so go at it and let your imagination go wild. I do want to do more videos in the future of painting just knights and all of their crazy regalia. I've added a little bit of moot green to the warpstone glow, so it's a little bit brighter than the normal warpstone glow, and I'm just keeping this to the highest points. This is just sort of now pushing into the final highlight stage. You'll also notice that at the end of the video, William Marshal is missing a key part of his heraldry, which was the big red lion. He had one on either side of the front part of the sort of tabard for his horse, as well as on his shield. That will be in part 2, and I will be doing that on his shield. It's going to be some really nice, cool freehand. I've not done it for this video because it would have added an extra half an hour, 45 minutes just for that. So once that's dry, the next thing to do now is go in for a 50-50 mix of moot green and warpstone glow and start really sort of defining the edges and the folds and everything else on the green areas. So here you can see me taking off the excess paint onto my thumb because I'm going to apply a glaze of pure Caliban green into the deepest areas of the tabard just to push those shadows a little bit more. So once the glaze is dry, all that's left to do now is a fine edge highlight of pure moot green to all of the sharpest folds of the fabric and around the edges, and that would be the green part done. And here is the green side finished. Time for the yellow. So for the yellow, what we're going to do now is start building up the brighter areas with pure Uriel yellow. Now, because we have the previous base coat and the wash, you should find this relatively easy. If you don't, do maybe 1 or 2 layers more than you may think you need. But what you want to do is just nice thin layer over the top, keeping the darker yellow into the recessed areas. The wash will help showing you where these are. I really love the Games Workshop yellows because it really makes yellow so much more easier than it used to be, because you have a paint for pretty much every stage, and I will be demonstrating this right now with this miniature. One thing that I'm really shocked at that no one's done yet in the Barons War community is paint up the miniatures to fit Game of Thrones. Interesting. So once you've done all of the Uriel yellow, we're now going to come in for the next highlight, and this is using Flash Gits yellow. And again, we're just going to be focusing on the highest points and the sharpest edges of the yellow, making sure that you leave the base coat and the Uriel yellow in the deeper recesses. These paints work so well together. It's really good, and they even work well with the Imperial Fist contrast paint. Now that the Flash Gits is done, we're going to move on to Phalanx yellow, and this is where we push the volumes and the highlights really high, because this is like a almost sort of whitey yellow, and it's really nice. You will see the yellow areas really start to pop now. But yes, Barons Wars Game of Thrones, it's something that I may have to do. I might have to do it. I think it would be really good. So you can see me just picking out the edge highlights with this as well, and this is just going to be setting up for the final stage, which will be with the Dawn yellow, but this will sort of just refine everything as well and make it look nice and sharp. And now for the final section, which is the Dawn yellow. So what you're going to be doing with this is literally just picking out all of the edges and the upper parts of the folds and everything else. Just think of it as literally an edge highlight. This paint is really bright. It's like almost like a yellow white. If other colors would call it icy yellow. So be careful with it. It can be quite vibrant. You'll also see that I've sort of contrasted in some parts of the horse. You'll sort of see that as we progress through, that I've done little parts that I don't really need to sort of explain for the tutorial. I really do love painting yellow, and the way that Paul Hicks sculpts these miniatures just makes the yellow pop even more. It's fantastic. So now we're just picking out a little bit more of the edges with the Dawn yellow. Okay, so what you've done now is I've gone around the miniature and I've base coated in all of the blacks, the browns and everything else to finish it off. Here we're just going to be focusing on the burgundy sort of harness strap that goes around the horse's head. So I've base coated it with Barracanard burgundy, then I've washed it with Newell oil, and now what I'm doing is going back over with Barracanard burgundy to sort of start bringing up the highlights. Mixing in a little bit of white to the Barracanard burgundy, I'm just starting to pick out the highlights and sort of create a sort of brighter point on the uppermost part of the bridle. I believe that would be a bridle. I think that's what it's called. Correct me in the comment section to actually what that bit would be called. So adding a lot more white into it now, we're just going to be pushing that highlight up a little bit more. Here you can sort of see me sort of wet blending it in to create a brighter point on that side of the head. And on the green side, I'm just doing sort of like an edge highlight on the top of the folds. And this is the finished William Marshal. As I said, part 2 will have the freehand and the chipping and damage on his shield. So that's the video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I love this miniature. Now, there are 2 versions of Sir William Marshal. There is a younger version, which is the one that I just painted, and there's obviously a version of him on foot as well, mounted and unmounted. And then there is a older version of Sir William Marshal, and he has his helmet off, and you can see his old facial features and everything else. I have him in my cabinet, and there's also a mounted version as well. So this is the sort of start of a series of Baron's War videos that I want to do on the channel, because I really love the game. I really love what Andy and Paul are doing, and the casting and everything else that Footsore do are second to none. They are really, really good. I'm going to put a link down below for the Footsore Miniatures website, so you can get over there and check it out yourself. It is super cool. There is a lot of nice little deals. You can get like little bundles with a couple of miniatures and like a PDF rule set and stuff like that for the campaign book. The rule book is relatively cheap, and it's such a good system. It spans for a good from about 1066 to about 1450. So you've got a good couple of 100 years of history to be able to play in. You can also play the Robin Hood and the Outlaws, because there are rules in the book as well. It's mainly in the Death of Taxes book. Or you can go over to the Crusades and play like against the Muslim forces and stuff like that, or the military orders and the Franks and things. So it's really, really cool. There's terrain and everything else, and it's really, really well done. So I'm probably going to paint up King John next, because can't have Sir William Marshal without Sir King John. And I've got another, quite a few other character models from the range that I'm probably going to be doing videos on. Robert Fitzwalter, I think I have Stephen Langford as well, but I have a few. And I've got a load of knights and foot knights, and I'm obviously going to be doing a video on my Crusader army that I'm going to be doing, which is going to be the Knights Hospital. Done a Templar video, but I'm going to do Knights Hospital. So that's going to be next. If there's anything that you want me to paint from the Footsore Baronswall range, drop it in the comments, and yeah, I'll get cracking on with that. But thanks very much. I'm going to stop the waffling, and yeah, so you know what to do. Subscribe, like the video, drop a comment, ring the bell so you don't miss out on all any future content that I am going to be making, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.